Hi everybody, my name is Mrs. Johnson. For those of you who don't know me, I am currently teaching 5th grade at Beeger Elementary School. Great job with your remote learning lessons at home. We certainly miss you, but we really are very thankful that parents, you are working so hard with your students at home, and we can't wait to all get back together back in May. I'm going to read you a story, and I know this is probably backwards to you, called John, Paul, George, and Ben. Parents especially, you may be thinking John, Paul, George, and Ringo, just like I have up here, of the Beatles. However, in 5th grade, we've been learning all about the American Revolution and our founding fathers. So this story kind of is going along with, a Beatle reference, but it actually has to do with John Hancock, Paul Revere, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson. And George Washington. Sorry. I was like, who am I missing here? Once there were 4 lads, John, Paul, George, and Ben. And if you notice, Ben has a little star by it. It says, make that 5 lads. There was also an independent Tom, always off doing his own thing. John was a bold lad. At the start of every school year, the students were asked to write their names on the chalkboard, and every year it was the same story. John, his teacher would say, you have lovely penmanship. John, your confidence is refreshing. But John, come on. We don't need to read it from space. Has a gigantic signature up there. We've learned that John Hancock wrote his signature so big that King George III, King of England at that point, would be able to read it without his glasses. Paul was a noisy lad. Not that any of my 5th grade students are noisy lads. Before fun was invented, people joined bell ringing clubs. As a member at Boston's Old North Church, Paul spent hours practicing in the Belfry Tower. Over time, that bell ringing took a toll on young Paul. All day, his head was filled with loud bings and bongs. He had to practically scream just to hear himself talk. Now, that's fine around the Belfry, but not at work. Extra large underwear? Sure, we have some. Let's see. Large, extra large. Here they are. Great big extra large underwear. Paul was like a bullhorn in a china shop. Your wig? Yes, it's coming. And your polka dot shirts are coming. And the pink breeches are coming. It took many years and a midnight ride for people to finally appreciate his special talent. The red coats are coming! Paul Revere. Everyone except that big underwear lady. She was still mad, and deservingly so. Now, George was an honest lad. One day, he took his shiny new hatchet and chopped down his family's cherry tree. When his father discovered the tree, he asked, "Son, do you know who killed this beautiful little cherry tree?" "I cannot tell a lie," answered George. "'Twas I who chopped down this cherry tree." "Then run to my arms, dearest boy," cried his father, "for you have paid me for it 1,000-fold with your honesty." "Really?" said George. "In that case," notice he's kind of holding it behind his back, trying to hide it. "When I tell you I've taken out the apple orchard, leveled the barn, and made kindling of your carriage, you'll be a wealthy, wealthy man." Ben was a clever lad. Not only did he have a saying for every situation, he generously shared them with anyone, anywhere, at any time. Fish and visitors stink after 3 days. He considered it his duty to provide frequent free advice. The sleeping fox catches no poultry. Those who in quarrels interpose must often wipe a bloody nose. If your head is wax, don't walk in the sun. And he actually just looks like he's bald. 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. The townsfolk were so taken by his generosity, they came up with a saying, especially for Ben. Please shut your big yap. I like it, said Ben, short and to the point. Work for a fox or turkey in there, and I think you've got something. Tom was an independent lad. One day, his teacher, Mr. Douglas, asked the class to make birdhouses by gluing macaroni to ye old balsa wood. Tom happily ignored him and used traditional building materials in a neoclassical design. When the class made a palm tree, Tom took one look and said, "Not on your life," and then quickly left. So he's one that kind of thinks outside the box. To sketch his own tree. Young Thomas fumed Teacher Douglas. Would you mind explaining to the class why you insist on working so independently? Certainly, said Tom. In fact, I've taken the liberty to list the very reasons. Tom learned the power of his words that day. Mr. Douglas told him to pursue all the life, liberty, and happiness that he wanted. Independently in the corner, the other students pursued lunch. The rest is history. Say, you want a revolution? There's another Beatles that I won't sing for you. But, well, John, Paul, George, Ben, and Tom sure did. In April of 1775, they got one. The Redcoats were coming. In fact, King George III's army was marching to Lexington and Concord to arrest John and the other Sons of Liberty. Fortunately, Paul Revere was a noisy man. After his midnight ride, every Minuteman, woman, and children knew who was coming and what they'd be wearing. It was the start of the Revolutionary War. The Americans needed to formally state their separation from the king. Who better than Thomas Jefferson, an independent man, to write the Declaration of Independence? Simply signing such a document was dangerous. Benjamin Franklin, a clever man, said it best. We must all hang together, he quipped, or assuredly we shall all hang separately. One might think twice about signing his name, not John Hancock. A bold man, he was the first to scribble his autograph, and man, just look at the size of his signature. I notice it looks like he's left-handed there, and as a fellow lefty, I always notice that, but I'm going to need to look it up and see if he really was left-handed. The war was won thanks to General Washington. Everyone thought he would make a great king for the new United States of America. But George Washington was an honest man. The last thing we need is another King George, he said. President George, however, has a nice ring to it. Ye old epilogue. George didn't live in the White House like all the other presidents. He was asked to live in New York City, where there aren't so many trees. And I like that. Looks like he chopped that down, and he's kind of whistling. There's a music note coming out of his mouth here. So now we have some true or false that if you are interested, you can certainly email me at johnsonc@mishawaka.k12.inus, and I could send you a picture of that. Thank you for being a great audience and for reading John, Paul, George, and Ben. And with all this time off, you could certainly go and look up some Beatles songs to keep you busy here. Thanks again. See you guys in May.